welcome everyone. Let's kick off. It's 7:30. Thank you so much for being here this evening. We have had an overwhelming response to people signing up for this boot camp and this evening's webinar, which I'm extremely grateful for. And we've done 10 days of the GPT boot camp. And I hope that those of you who have watched the replays or joined us live has had as much fun as I have, and hopefully learned some really cool tips and tools along the way. That's saving you time. The replays, including tonight's replay from this webinar, will be available in the Facebook group until Sunday. And then after that, we'll be moving the replays over to the Future Smart Teacher member area, which I'll tell you a little bit more about after Graeme has spoken. So, without much further ado, I am thrilled to have my colleague and business partner, Graeme Codrington, join us this evening. Graeme is a global futurist who helps leaders and organizations rethink, unlearn, and be more relevant for the 2020s and beyond. He is an award-winning speaker and author of a number of books. Future-Proof Your Child for the 2020s and Beyond is perhaps my favorite book from him. But today, Graeme joins us to talk about AI in education. So welcome, Graeme.
Thank you very much, and hi there to you who has joined us. I hope that you've been enjoying the boot camp. I've been following along as well. Jude's put together some amazing resources. If you haven't had the chance to watch each of those little inserts every day, of course, go back and make sure that you watch that. What Jude's asked me to do, sort of the capstone of that GPT session that we've been working on, is to just have a look at some of the work that Jude and I do when we do more consulting with schools and with educators and with teachers to help get beyond not just the how do I use ChatGPT or how do I use large language models or generative AI, but what are some of the ways in which we should be thinking about how we bring this technology into our educational environment. I'm going to do a little presentation for you. We've got, unfortunately, way too many people on the system to just make it a conversation, which is fantastic news, great interest in the topic, but it does mean that we'll make it more of a presentation to start with, and then we'll have some Q&A. And you'll have an opportunity to come in, put Q&A either via Facebook if you're watching there, or via Zoom if you've been able to log in there. Of course, if you're watching the replay, you can contact Jude and myself with an email with any questions or to sort out a follow-up. So what I do for a living is I help organizations, everything from governments to big corporates, from schools to non-profit organizations, to think about disruptive change, to think about the things that happen in the world that fundamentally change the rules of a game for a particular industry. Predict the future? I wish I could, but let's be honest, if I could predict the future, I wouldn't do this for a living. I wouldn't do anything for a living. I'd own a private continent and none of you would be invited. I'm that much of an introvert. But no, I mean, if you could even predict the future for 10 minutes in advance, you'd have that anybody's ever had at your disposal. Nobody can do that. But what we can do, maybe better than we often do in reality, is identify when structural change is taking place.
Recording in progress.
By structural change, I mean structural change is about the changes to the rules for success and failure. Any industry, whether it's banking or retail or transportation or education, all has norms and standards and rules, and many have regulations as well. Most of those are good. They are the received and accumulated wisdom of the industry, normally. Sometimes they're just outdated rule books that were put in law 10, 15, 20 years ago, and everybody today's forgotten why, but we just keep doing it anyway. But anyway, we'll leave that to the side. But what happens when those change? What happens when underlying foundational things change? That's what I'm fascinated by. And for me, I really do think that AI is part of that. I don't think that AI is actually AI. These days when people talk about AI, I think some people are just impressed by an Excel pivot table, to be honest, and would call that AI. But I don't think that even ChatGPT and Claude, I'm going to say ChatGPT, but I mean Claude, Llama, Bing, Bard, Copilot, Grok, etc., etc. I mean all of them. When I say that, I don't think these things are actually AI. What I think they are is IA. And what I mean by that is that they are intelligent assistants. I don't even think that they are mimicking human intelligence. So this is where I want to start, with just helping you to understand that. I know Jude's mentioned it once or twice over the last week or so, but I think as an educator who's thinking, what do I do with this tool? Or is nervous about the tool, I hope that this will help you just a little bit. These are not artificial intelligence. At least the text-based side. Let's ignore the image and video generation stuff for a second and just focus in on the large language models. What these are is they are engines. They are engines that have been designed to look for patterns in language. And if you want the technical term, I know there's some IT teachers with us. I know there's some people who know what they're talking about. So it's got to do with what we call tokenization. We've been trying to develop AI for 40 years plus, and a lot of it just had to do with some pattern recognition. But about 5 or 6 years ago, a group of people at Google wrote a fantastic article, which was a sort of theoretical model for taking language, right? So you've got just a set of language here. And instead of looking at each word and treating it as a word that the computer understood and then trying to make sense of the word, what we can do is we can turn words and patterns of words into, in computer language tokens, you can think of it as emojis or icons. So each of these words gets allocated a particular icon. Now, you know how this works. If I say to you, my family is planning a wonderful overseas holiday at the end of the year, we're going to Paris in France, and we're super excited to see the Eiffel, complete the sentence, you would say tower, no doubt. 99.9% of people would know how to finish that sentence. And that's exactly what ChatGPT is doing, bizarrely. Some people say, we don't know how it works. We don't know how it gets its results. Nonsense. We know exactly. It's been programmed to take your last 18 words and guess the next one. And what it's doing is it's put those words into icons. It's then got an engine filled with billions of icons arranged in different patterns. When you put a set of words into ChatGPT as a prompt, it looks at the patterns of those words. It then goes into the engine and tries to match that pattern as closely as it can. It then pulls out patterns that it thinks would match your pattern, and it turns those back into words. It then double checks that it makes sense in whatever language you're working in, and then it gives it to you as a result. And it sounds super impressive. It always sounds clever, even when it doesn't know what it's talking about. And it really doesn't care whether it knows what it's talking about or whether it's told you the truth or not. It just is very proud of itself that it found the pattern of things you were asking for. Do you need proof of this? Do you want to know what to do? If you've got ChatGPT in front of you, give this a try. This has different results in different ways because it's become such a meme at the moment that they're busy programming the response. But the latest version of ChatGPT, called O1, the nickname for it was Strawberry. It was ChatGPT Strawberry while they were developing it. And when it was released, some bright spark on Instagram said, you know what, I'm just going to go in and check something. And the question asked is, how many R's are there in Strawberry? This is a live conversation I had yesterday with ChatGPT. These days they've programmed it because it was a bit embarrassing, so I use the word raspberry. Proves the point. How many R's are there in raspberry? I'll read this in case your screen is too small. ChatGPT says to me, remember, this is artificial intelligence, most powerful technology ever created by human beings. Graeme, there are 2 R's in raspberry. I say, no, try again. ChatGPT says, you're right, there are actually 3 R's in raspberry. Now, I'm not being caught out by that. If you tell me 2 first and then suddenly say 3, I want to know what's going on. So I ask, why did you get it wrong the first time? So ChatGPT tries to explain. It says the mistake likely happened because I quickly focused on the beginning of and end of the word, missing the R in the middle. The R in the middle. Okay. It was an oversight on my part, and I appreciate your patience in pointing it out. Yeah. I've met people like this, and I'm not sure I trust them. Anyway, next question. Well, okay. How many R's are there in the middle? There is 1 R in the middle of the word raspberry. It appears between the B and the Y. So then I say, okay, let's take this further, right? Okay. Yeah, so there are actually 2 R's in the middle, 1 after the B and 1 before the Y. Thanks for pointing that out. And then I say, but what about the E? In raspberry, there is only 1 E, and it comes near the end of the word, just before the R and Y. 1 R or 2. There is only 1 E in raspberry, situated between the 2 R's near the end of the word. The sequence near the end of the word is RRE. It's now lost its mind. It's not even answering my question. It literally can't spell the word raspberry. Someone must explain to me why we're calling it artificial intelligence. Someone must explain to me why we're so impressed with how good it is. Sorry to start off very hot and cynical on a Wednesday evening for you, but what I need you to understand is this. We don't have artificial intelligence yet. What we have is an engine that turns your words into pictures, icons, tokens. It then goes through a probabilistic pattern recognition, algorithm-driven heuristic. Yes, I said all of those words. What I really mean is it basically looks for patterns. It finds something very similar to the pattern you asked for. It then takes tokens from that pattern, puts it back, converts it back into English. Which means I'm not very worried that this is about to take over the world. There are people who think it will. I mean, you get headlines like this. Can this AI tool predict your death? Maybe, but don't panic. No, really? Someone must explain to me on what basis AI can predict my death. Or here's a guy, Eliezer Yudkowsky, who will speak to any podcaster who moves in his direction. And he's always got the same title for the podcast episodes. Look him up, Eliezer Yudkowsky, We're All Going to Die. He reckons that it is not good to bring children into this world because we're all going to die and the children are going to die young. So that it's unethical to even have children. Then you have the wonderful, amazing Sam Altman, who heads up OpenAI, who's the founder of the company that gave us generative AI. He always looks very serious. He always looks very concerned, our Sam. And what he said a number of months ago, this made front page news on the New York Times. AI poses a risk of extinction of the whole of humanity. And he said that there are hundreds of AI and technology experts who have signed a statement about how scared and nervous they are. Did you read this statement? Most people didn't, by the way. I've never met anybody who's actually read it except me. I did. I read the statement. This is the entire statement. This is not the heading. This is not the headline. This is not the summary. This is the statement, the full statement that the New York Times made front page news. This is nonsense. If one of your students in a class put this in as something serious, look at them and say, go back and actually do your homework. Yes, mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. Yes, if AI could start a pandemic, let's do something about it. If AI is as scary as nuclear war, obviously. But yeah, if is doing a lot of work in that sentence. By the way, I protect myself against the dangers of AI with something all of you have got near you. I call it my anti-AI protection mechanism, otherwise known as water. If you think your laptop is about to take over the planet, destroy life on Earth, then please just pour half a bottle of water over your laptop and we'll all be fine. Okay, let me switch off my ironic cynicism tone for a second. We don't have artificial intelligence. We have a wonderful language pattern recognition machine, which is remarkably brilliant. It really, really is good. When you use it for what it is supposed to be used for, to look for patterns in language and numbers, it can do remarkable things. Here's an example. We found an ancient scroll, I think in Pompeii, around preserved by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. So the scroll, this parchment, was just like absolutely in the lava that came through. It was squeezed together. They've been able to do X-ray imaging on it over the years, and they've been able to pull off some of the words. But then they took those, an image of those, and they put them into ChatGPT, and they said, we think that this is either Latin or ancient Greek. Can you decode the scroll for us? And ChatGPT said, of course I can. I know Latin, I know ancient Greek, and I'm a pattern recognition monster. Leave it with me. And a few minutes later, it came back, and they've now said, yes, actually, we can. Now that ChatGPT has shown us what it is, we can see, and it has decoded the scroll. It is absolutely remarkable at doing that. So now let's get practical. How would you use it? How should you use it? I use two qualifying criteria for when I decide whether I'm going to use ChatGPT, generative AI, large language models. The first thing I ask is the thing I would like it to do for me, is this something that thousands of people might have done before? In other words, I'm asking whether ChatGPT has got a big enough database of possible answers. If the thing I'm wanting to do is brand new, never been done before, ChatGPT is literally going to be useless. It will make something up and it will sound intelligent. ChatGPT is kind of like mansplaining as a service. Have you ever heard a man say, I don't know? They'll tell you something, they'll make something up, but you can kind of get in the tone of the voice. They don't really know what they're talking about. ChatGPT doesn't even have a tone of voice. It always sounds amazing, even when it's making stuff up. But the more possible people who could have answered the question or dealt with the issue you're dealing with, the better the results are going to be from ChatGPT. And secondly, would all of those 1,000 people give a fairly similar answer? In other words, if I'm going to ask ChatGPT, which religion is the best religion? Which religion is right? Well, first question, are there thousands of people who might have answered that question online? Yes, millions, maybe even billions. So we've passed the first hurdle. But the second hurdle is, will they all agree? Of course they won't. By the way, if you do have ChatGPT and you're playing along this evening with us, put that question in, see what ChatGPT says. You will discover that ChatGPT clearly has a group of lawyers working for ChatGPT, because ChatGPT puts disclaimers on that kind of information. Anything that's controversial in the political or religious or culture war thing, you're going to have I can't answer that question, or something along the lines. You can see that lawyer wrote something. So in other words, there's no intelligence there. There's complete human override of the potential answers that you could give. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, actually. But all I'm pointing out to you is, well, then you can't use ChatGPT to give you definitive answers for controversial questions. So that's a whole lot of stuff ChatGPT can't help you with anymore. Let's give another example. You're busy working in Excel and you're trying to do a formula in Excel and you can't remember exactly how the formula works. And so you think, well, let me just go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT. So I'll explain to ChatGPT what I'm trying to do and ask ChatGPT to tell me the formula. First question, do you think thousands of people might have had that same query about the formula before? Yes, probably. Do you think that most of those 1,000 people, if they knew what they were talking about, would have come up with a similarly correct answer? Yes, I think they would. Well, now ChatGPT is going to be absolutely remarkable. And by the way, it is absolutely remarkable in helping you with Word and PowerPoint and Excel and Google Documents and fixing a problem. Your modem's not working at home for some reason, you can't get onto the internet. ChatGPT, I have this modem, how old am I? I'm talking about getting onto the internet with modems. Jude, rescue me, I'm not that old. ChatGPT, my router is not working and I can't get access to the fiber internet, what. Please help me, this is the model number of my router. And thousands of people might have had this problem before, and if they managed to solve it, they would have solved it in exactly the same way. ChatGPT gives you a beautiful answer. One more example, I hope these examples are useful to you. ChatGPT, please give me a recipe for beef stew. First question, do you think there are thousands of recipes for beef stew online? Yes, there are. Excellent. We've passed the first hurdle. Second question, do you think that all of those recipes are basically the same? Well, I would hope not. You see, your auntie's recipe, your mother's recipe, your brother's recipe for beef stew are all slightly different here or there. I know my brother is a very good cook, and he does something with the meat that he refuses to tell anybody. Like even me, his older brother, he won't tell me what he does, but he does something before he puts it in the pot. And it just, I could blind taste my brother's beef stew out of a selection of 100 because it's just that thing. Am I going to get that from ChatGPT? No. Mean of the probabilistic, algorithmic heuristic of the average beef stew. Can I put that in English for you? Blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a blah, blah beef stew. Now, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to be horrible, but it's going to be blah, blah. So now, I see fantastic opportunities to use ChatGPT, but what happens if you phone the call center and you've got a query that's very unusual or has never been queried before, right? What do you do then? Because ChatGPT will just make nonsense up. So would I want ChatGPT to replace my hospital's call center? Would I want ChatGPT to be able to look at my blood tests and tell me what's wrong with me? Well, if what's wrong with me is something that is the same as what has been wrong with 1,000 other people before, and if we're absolutely certain that what happened to those 1,000 people is what's happening to me, well, then I sort of would want to trust ChatGPT to be my doctor. So maybe ChatGPT can be used at hospitals for the first, they call it triage in the medical environment, to do the thing that those emergency nurses do to just check what's really wrong with you. If it's an easy thing to fix, we'll fix it and get you out of here quickly. But maybe we have to refer you to go deeper. And when we do that, please take the machines away. I want a human. You see what I'm saying? So now you can see, I hope, what I would say about education. is the thing that you are doing in your classroom something that thousands of people have done before? Maybe. And have the thousands of people who've done it before all done it in pretty much the same way? Well, maybe. And if so, well, then we can replace you. If that's all you're doing as a teacher. And now we get back to this being intelligent assistance. I do think that there are some subjects and some moments in an educational journey where what you're really just doing is trying to make sure that this 8-year-old, 12-year-old, 23-year-old person is catching up with getting all of the knowledge that all of the human beings in all of history have known up to this point. In other words, it's dumping that data, those facts, those things. What's 3 times 6? It's 18. What's 4 times 6? It's 24. There might be some cute and clever ways to help somebody learn their timetables, but maybe there isn't. And in fact, if there is the best way to learn timetables, I'm pretty sure ChatGPT knows it. And so we can go to ChatGPT and ask. And maybe there's the best way for us to teach timetables to auditory focused kids versus kinetically intelligent children. Maybe autistic children have one way of learning numbers because they see numbers differently to those with dyslexia who might need more help. Would ChatGPT be able to help us? You know what, I actually think it will. ChatGPT has the potential to replace some teaching functions. I do think so. But, as most of you teachers will know, what happens in a classroom where 5 or 6 of the kids get lost and they need help? Where you've got, in a classroom of 25 children, you might have 28 different learning styles. Because 3 of the kids keep changing theirs between Tuesday and Wednesday. What about creativity? What about some of the things where it's not just about dumping knowledge to make sure they've got a data set in their brains, but it's actually about understanding? Or what about the subjects where it's about appreciation and experience and loving what they are doing? Well, then I don't think ChatGPT can help us. Well, ChatGPT can assist us, but won't replace us. I don't think that teachers will be replaced by AI. I think that teachers who use AI will ultimately replace the teachers who don't. But AI will replace some parts of the teaching function, but I can't imagine will replace all teachers. Maybe let me give you one more story. I'm 54 years old. I was the 3rd set of matriculant students in South Africa in 1988 to be able to use a calculator, not be able, was required to use a calculator. I think it was this one. Those of you who are my age, is this ringing any bells, this Casio? I think I got the right picture online. That certainly feels familiar to me. But we were mandated to go out and buy these calculators. By the way, South Africa, I know a lot of you are from South Africa, we were ahead of the curve. America only mandated calculators in the early 1990s. But it was late 80s, early 90s. My grandfather, who was an amazing mathematician, he could run his finger down a phone book and add the phone numbers together in his head as if they were numbers and write the total at the bottom of the page. What a cool trick, right? Super smart. And he said to me, I'll never forget this. He said, Graeme, this is the end of the world. He said, this is going to make students dumb. If people don't think they need to do maths in their head, they can't do mental maths. If they rely, they're going to do 3 times 6 on a calculator. That's, by the way, why 3 times 6 is always stuck in my head when I choose maths examples, because Yeah, I love my grandfather. 3 times 6, Graeme, and they're going to do it on a calculator because they're not even going to know it's 18. And then all the bridges will collapse because our engineers are stupid. Our businesses will fail because they've got no accountants who know how to deal with numbers. That was 1988. By the early 1990s, 3 or 4 years later, he had already come to me and he said, Graeme, I was wrong. Because you see, what actually happened is we didn't dumb down everybody. We actually lifted everybody up. The smart kids were always smart. They actually didn't need calculators. But the kids who struggled with maths, they raised their game. Calculators took away the stuff that they were struggling with so that now they could do stuff they would never have even be able to get a sniff at before. We didn't lower the ceiling. We raised the floor. I think that's what ChatGPT is going to do for education. It's not going to make us all dumb. No, that's not true. It's going to make some people dumb because it is dumb. There are dumb things about it. When it doesn't know what it's talking about, it makes stuff up. It's more than dumb. It makes stuff up. You know these people. You've got some of these people in your friendship circles where you can't believe anything they say, not because they are a liar, but because they just make stuff up and you don't know. Are they being truthful, factual, serious, or are they just making something up? Are they just telling a stupid story? And you just literally have no way of knowing. That's ChatGPT. You have no way of knowing whether what it has said to you is right or not. Seriously. And it has no way of knowing either. That's maybe even more profound to understand. But if we use it for what it was intended to be used for, then you will be able to do remarkable things. You will raise the floor. Now, I say use it for what it was intended for, because even back in 1988, you did have people who went to their calculator and typed 58008, right? 58008. What on earth are you going on, Graeme? And then they would turn the calculator upside down and they'd say, look, boobs, boobs. Claire's just joined. And she's going, Graeme, what on earth are we talking about here? I'm talking about people not using the calculator for what it was intended for, not understanding what the calculator was used for, and using it incorrectly. That's going to happen with ChatGPT. Do not blame the technology. That's the people who are using it, messing with it. So what it's going to mean for us as educators, for you as teachers, is you've got this powerful tool. Why on earth would you stop people using it? Why on earth would you stop people using it? What you want to do is show them what it should be used for and what it shouldn't be used for, and then help them to use it well. And that's going to mean, and the reason I got a book review behind me is because this is an example, I think a great example, of the fact that we are going to have to rethink as educators the assignments we give and the assessments we take. I had a similar experience when I was at university. My first degree was a BCom, and I argued with my lecturers about the fact that we couldn't take the tax code. The tax code is massive lever arch files back in those days of all the tax acts. When a lawyer says to you, well, it's section 78A1 subparagraph B3, that's obviously somewhere in a book. And we had to learn that tax code off by heart. Again, I was one of the first students at WITS in the early 1990s where they said, you know what, people, you can bring the Tax Act into the exam. It's thousands of pages long, so it's not like you can sit in the exam and read it from beginning to end. You have to know that Tax Act, but not memorize it off by heart and then regurgitate it in the exam. But now they could change the assessment. They could say, Section 78, paragraph B mentions this. Compare and contrast this to Section 115. Now, previously, they would have just realized that's just too much of a question to ask somebody if we're testing memory. But now, if you've got it in front of you, we can change our assessments. So, if you're going to give a young person a question, please do a book review of To Kill a Mockingbird. Well, sorry, you can't do that assignment anymore, because ChatGPT can do some of the best book reviews of all of the books in the world. So you can't do that anymore. So as a teacher, you've now got to ask the question, what was the purpose of the book review? Why did I want them to do a book review? If it was simply to prove that they had read the book, well, then there would be an assignment and an assessment that could prove that they did it. You could say, in chapter 10 of the book, this character does this for this character. Explain why you think they did it. Now, ChatGPT can still help them with that, but that'll be a much stronger assignment to do to prove they read the book. Even then, I don't think that will work. You could do something like, what did you learn from the book? What are the 10 new words you learnt by reading this book? Things that require their personal engagement and reflection rather than just them summarizing the content. Now, I'm not going to go into further detail. These are just examples to help you to understand that we've got Google if we want to go and find source material. We've got ChatGPT if we are wanting to look for something that everybody agrees on and there's a long history of reasonably agreed on information. And then we've got you, a wonderful teacher, for everything else. I think there's space for all of us in the educational environment. So I hope this is making sense to you. And I hope then that if I say now, well, what are the use cases for large language models, for ChatGPT in education? I hope that your default setting is not to say this is competition for me, because it isn't. And I hope your default setting is not to say this is cheating, because it's not. It isn't cheating. This is the most powerful tool we have ever created in the technology space. So just in case you think I don't use ChatGPT and I don't like ChatGPT, I've been quite cynical and sarcastic for the last half hour, but only to get your attention. This is the most powerful tool we've ever created, more powerful than even the most powerful calculator I ever had in the 80s, more powerful than Google and Apple and Microsoft combined. But it is only powerful for the things it is designed to do. It can do the things it's designed to do, summarizing human knowledge that is already agreed upon for you. That it can do brilliantly, better than anything we've ever had before. And everything else, it is horrifyingly bad at. There is no in between. There's nothing that it is vaguely good at sometimes, but not other days. No, it's either brilliant or it's horrifyingly bad. And the things it's bad at, we should not use it for at all. And the things it's good at, we should use it all the time. So, I think it's really wonderful to improve our communications. For me, I don't like to get ChatGPT to come up with something from scratch, but I do often take a document I've written, put it into ChatGPT, and ask it to improve it for me. It is actually, by the way, probably the best translation tool we've got at the moment. To put things into different languages, it's actually brilliant. And I think we should become more comfortable in a school environment. Say to your parents, if you would like to send me an email in your home language because you can articulate yourself better, please do that. I'm just going to use ChatGPT to translate it, and we'll get to like a 90-95% good thing. And I wouldn't translate something I've written in English into a language I didn't understand, because I don't know if it's expressing me well. But I certainly would use it for incoming translation, and we should encourage people. And you can say to your teachers, please take something I send and translate it into your home language and see if that makes more sense to you. It's very good at analyzing and summarizing. And I've said documents here, but by documents, I mean PDFs. I mean Excel spreadsheets. I mean massive data sets of numbers. It is a frighteningly good pattern recognition machine. It can summarize documents but again, these are things that are already existing. These are things where you're saying, I'm not asking for your opinion on life, universe, and everything. I'm giving you a document. Please summarize it for me. It's amazing. I think it is a stunning TA. It's a stunning thing to use, possibly better with your better students, as somebody can say, hey, I'm needing to sort of keep up here with the kids who are needing a little bit of extra help. Get ChatGPT to do a little quiz for you. Make sure you've understood this. Give ChatGPT the most difficult question you had in the maths exam and get ChatGPT to explain the answer. Not just give you the answer, but explain the answer. It is amazing that if you let it be an assistant to the teacher, as you would expect a good TA to do, it's jolly good. Then I've said efficiency coach. This is for the stuff like help me understand an Excel formula, help me fix my cell phone that's glitching. It's just like life coach, right? Somebody just helps you do stuff. And then, of course, it can be a personal coach. You're needing some assistance to prepare for an interview. You're needing somebody to help you just be better in your communication style, analyze something for you, give you an opinion. It's really good. And then developing marketing materials. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Let me, though, give you something practical to take away. Jude has thrown lots of ideas at you over the last week or two. Please go back to those videos if you haven't seen them already. But what I thought I'd do is summarize everything that Jude has done. And Jude and I worked together to come up with the prompt to beat all prompts. I mean, Jude's been talking to you over the 2 weeks that you don't just go into ChatGPT and ask it a question, you prompt it. And this is as good a summary as I think that we can give you. Whenever I'm putting a prompt together, I always think, to be honest, I don't always think of all 6 of these things. I've got 4 in my head, and I often have to come back to my list. But if you want ChatGPT to do something for you, the first thing you want to do is just tell ChatGPT, who are you? Contextual information is to say, who are you? ChatGPT, I am a strategy consultant with an interest in the future of work. I love to look at disruptive technologies. I'm speaking to a group of teachers on Wednesday evening, and I need your help. Okay? So it's like contextual information. Who am I? What am I doing? Then I give you the task. What help do I need? I need to tell them what the best use of ChatGPT is as a tool, and I need them to understand what things they shouldn't use ChatGPT for. So there's the task or the question you're asking. Then you say, please give me your answer in, and now you can specify 200 words or less. 1,500 words or more, with sources from academic journals using the Harvard sourcing system. So you tell it what format you want. Give it to me in 5 bullet points. Give it to me in complete sentences. Seriously, think in your mind what the best output format would look like and tell it to do that. Then you use style guidance. Now, this is my favorite thing to show people. Did you know you can teach ChatGPT a style? So the style guidance can literally be, please use the style of whatever you want. Please use the style of Darth Vader from the Star Wars movies. Give it a go. It's really cool. By the way, you can come back afterwards. If ChatGPT gives you an answer, you can always go back and say, please do that answer again, but in the style of. And you can say, please do it in the style of a British, Oxford-trained academic tutor. Or do it in the style of a football coach who's using football as an analogy. Style guidance is one of my favorite things to experiment with. My very, very favorite thing to do is, and this takes a little bit longer, but before I get going with any of these, I say to ChatGPT, I would like to teach you my style. I'm about to upload a number of documents that I have written, and I would like you to analyze these documents for style and tone. Then you upload the documents. You obviously need to have the upgraded version of ChatGPT to do this. Copilot, you can do it automatically. But if you have a system that has the ability to upload documents or to point to websites, you point it to examples of your own work. Then you ask it, please describe the style and tone to me. If you don't think it quite got it right, just improve it. Say, thank you. I don't think, I'm not quite as funny as you think I am, or I think I am more funny than you think I am. You update it and you say, right, now please use this style for all future queries. Now that only works in a query conversation. If you start a new conversation, that style disappears. So you need to keep using the same conversation, and because it's then learned your style and it uses it. But you can copy and paste that style guidance to a new conversation if you need it. The persona is that this is why I keep forgetting the persona, because the persona is fairly similar to the style guidance, but you are giving it permission to be a certain person or take on a certain style as it develops its content. So you might say, in the style of the South African CAP syllabus, a teacher at a government all-girls school, grade 8 South Africa. So there's your persona. You give it that information. And then, just in case this prompt isn't long enough, if there are any assumptions or constraints that you want to use, my favorite thing when I'm demonstrating this is I say, and please start all of the letters, please start all of the words in your answer with the letter T. Just to prove that it can do that, and it does a pretty good job most of the time. I mean, that's a silly constraint, right? But you might want to put on a constraint. If you've asked it to create an activity for you that you can use in your classroom, you might say, oh, and please note, I don't have any budget, right? So everything has to be done with cheap materials or something like that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your prompt to beat all prompts, and to make sure that now you don't always need all of these things. You don't always have to take half an hour to write a prompt and get like one paragraph back. But the more effort and energy you put into developing your prompt, the better it is, the better the output's going to be. So, ChatGPT in education. We need to use these large language models properly. We need to understand the risks, the constraints, and where it's not used for. But this is way more than just a little bit of productivity, and it's certainly not something we should be scared of. We need to learn how to use it. We need to experiment with prompts to make sure we are expert at it, and then helping our students to understand it as well. You have been warned. Proper AI is coming. Sorry, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know how to adjust my subject, I don't know how to adjust my teaching to take account of ChatGPT. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you are the age that you are when ChatGPT arrived on the planet. But you have to do this. 5 years from now, it will be normal, and 10 years from now, it will be compulsory, and 15 years from now, the ChatGPT we are using will feel like floppy disks feel to us today. Like, what was that? I can't believe we were impressed. This is only the very beginning. It's going to get bigger, better, more amazing. We cannot hold back against it. Start building your bionic world now and getting to grips with data and analytics and heuristics and so on. And then stay up to date. Build a team of people in your school who are willing to work together and share ideas. Make it part of your strategy if you're a school leader to bring this in. Get the parents involved. Share the information with the students. experiment, try things. And I suppose part of that is what Jude and I are here for as well. This is why we felt the passion to develop this Future Smart Teacher and the Future Smart Parent Club, to just support people like yourselves, to say, don't be overwhelmed by this. Work out how to use it well. We're all learning this together. It's not even 2 years. It's only a few weeks' time we'll have the second anniversary of generative AI being launched. But there's so much that we can do with it. And I really hope that the resources we give you from Future Smart Teacher are helping you already and will continue to help you over the next few years. Right, we've got a few minutes left of our hour. I took slightly more time than I thought, but I hope that was useful. We've got a few minutes left for Q&A. If you have a question, please feel free to throw it into whatever platform you're on. Obviously, only if you're live, if you're watching the recording. If you have questions, contact us. But if you want to throw a question into the Zoom call, if you're here with us, or on Facebook, Jude will pick it up. But just while you're thinking of any questions and typing them in, and unfortunately, today we can only take typed in questions. Jude, let me just hand back to you, just maybe to say just a little bit more about the Future Smart Teacher Club as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Graeme.
Oh, and I think
Thank you,
Jude
Graeme.
has dropped off.
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
there we go. Jude.
No, I'm here. I'm just muted. But thank you so much for that. I think, gosh, I loved our... Oh, where are you? Oh, there we go. I loved our bootcamp videos, but I think that you'll all agree that hearing Graeme talk on this topic just brings a whole new level, right? Speaking of our SIP the GPT, ChatGPT bootcamp that we ran over the last 10 days, chatting to many of you, I think there was one thing that came up, and that is that you're already wearing so many hats. Teaching, planning, mentoring, dealing with us parents, running extracurriculars, and now, as Graeme says, everyone's talking about AI and how you need to master that too. I actually saw something a few weeks ago that was really sort of connected with me, that from Adam Grant, and he said something like, the hallmark of expertise is no longer how much you know, it's how well you synthesize. It's not enough to collect facts. The future belongs to those who connect the dots. And I think he's absolutely right. But also, it's not just about connecting the dots, it's about connecting with your students. Which is why I am incredibly excited to share and to be talking about something that, as Graeme says, that we've created specifically for teachers like you. As Graeme says, we've called it the Future Smart Teacher Membership, and it's designed for one purpose: to help you harness all the technology while giving back you time to do what you do best. So and to connect with your students. So let us connect the dots for you while you connect with your students, basically. I'll tell you a little bit about what you're going to get for Future Smart teachers. So basically, every week we deliver bite-sized tutorials showing you exactly how to use AI in your classroom. No fluff, no theory, just the practical stuff that you can use tomorrow. So very similar to what we were doing in the bootcamp videos, but I think with a little bit more depth. I was trying to cover quite a bit in the 5, 10, 15 minutes. So we'll dig a little deeper in the videos that are looking at AI. Secondly, which I think is going to be a really great thing, is we're going to ask members to submit your AI questions so that if you have a specific challenge or idea, that you can let us then research it and we'll share the answers with our members. And we'll be doing that weekly. And then every month, our expert, Graeme, will share a video about the future of work and education, just to help us understand where the future of work is heading so that we can prepare our students for what's coming, right? The latest video that we've got in the Academy talks about the skills that professionals need, and how they're changing. And I think it just helps us get our heads around this as teachers, students, parents. that it's not all about academics. And then lastly, like we've learned from each other this week over the boot camp in the Facebook group, we will have our own private Facebook group for teachers where we can connect, share ideas, resources, and engage with each other. Because let's face it, I think the best ideas often come from teachers who are in the trenches with you. So yeah, I know you're probably all thinking, gosh, this is just another thing to add to my plate. But I hope, as Graeme says, that you embrace this and let us help you do the hard graft so that you can use what we find and connect. So we do have a founding member offer for everyone. For individual teachers, if you're in South Africa, it's just 99 Rand a month, less than a couple of cups of coffee every few days. Or you can pay an annual fee, a once-off payment of 990 Rand. So then it's for 10 months, you're getting 2 months free basically. And what I'm really excited about is that after 12 months or after your annual payment, you get lifetime membership. We're not going to make you pay for years and years and years. It's 1 year and then you'll have lifetime membership. So I think that's quite cool. For our international teachers, it's $5.99 monthly or $59 for the year. And then also we have an option for schools, right? Which I'm really excited about. So for just 980 Rand a month, every staff member, every teacher in your school can have access to the academy, because we really want to reach as many teachers as possible, and for you to have the conversations and to get everyone on the same playing field and to have the conversations. And we'll be giving teachers the tools to have those conversations in the staff room or in your weekly meetings. So that's 980 Rand a month for schools, for as many teachers and staff that you want to access. International schools, it's $55 monthly, or there is an annual fee if schools prefer to pay that. It's 9,800 Rand for the year. These founding member rates are valid for the rest of the week until Sunday, when we'll also be taking the replays down. So if you haven't had a look at the replays and you still want to do that, please make sure you've watched them. And then I really hope that we can see as many of you as possible in our membership. It is futuresmartteacher.com. If you go there, you can sign up. I did actually, there we go. I think you can see that. So if you go to futuresmartteacher.com, you'll be able to see what you get, and you'll be able to sign up either for individuals or for teachers over here, quick and easy. So that is all that I have to say. Graeme, I think over to you with any questions.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. There are just a few questions come through. I've just seen 3, and they're all very similar. So I can sort of just answer them. They're all about, if I'll use Bianca's as the main question, but it'll answer all the other ones. Bianca asks if a learner is taught to use AI correctly, as in they take the time to create a persona, they put in a detailed prompt, etc., will I still be able to pick up using an AI checker tool that it was created using AI? Bianca, I truly hope not. I am teaching your students how to do this. I actively want them to outwit the AI checkers, so that you can't know whether they're using AI or not. That would be ideal, right? Because then they've gone beyond a blur answer, and they've gone to something, they've taken the time and the effort, they've understood how the tool works. Now, I'm not finished with my answer yet. Let's go back to my calculator example. If you give me a maths question which says, what is 372,000 multiplied by the square root of 875, I can put that in my calculator and I can find the answer and I can give you the answer. And then you wouldn't know whether I had done it in my head or I'd used a calculator. So what does the maths department do? They say, show us your workings. So the maths department is 25 years ahead of us because they've had this calculator that could give you the answer, so they changed the question so that you have got to show how you get to the answer, not just give the answer, which indicates to the maths teacher you've understood the mechanics of the question, you've understood the mechanics of the theorem or the thing that you are working with. Now we've got to do that for all the other subjects. We've got to shift away from thinking, and now this answers one or two other people's questions. We've got to shift away from thinking that using ChatGPT is cheating. It's only cheating if you've asked a bad question. I apologize for being rude at this time of night. I'm a little bit too tired to be nice. Sorry. But honestly, this is the challenge. And now we want to help you with this challenge. But it is the challenge of teaching in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, is you cannot stop them using ChatGPT. I know you can. I know you can tell them not to, and I know you can put them in detention if they do, and I know you could even expel them if they did. But that's not the long-term solution. You know that already, I'm sure, and so do I. So what we've got to do, I know it's hard, I know it's going to take a lot of work, but that's why we're here. That's what we're going to do together. We need to learn how to ask better questions. We need to learn how to give better assignments and improve our assessments, knowing that ChatGPT is a tool in the system. And I think we can do that. And if you'd like some practical suggestions, drop us a note with a challenge. Give Jude and I a challenge. Say, I have a challenge for you. How would you beat ChatGPT with this assignment? And within a day or two, we'll get back to you with a suggestion and you can experiment with it in the class. And I hope that within a few weeks or months, you might even be saying to your students, please use ChatGPT to do the following assignment. And that you will see that their engagement with learning improves, the learning they do is better, and that ChatGPT is a teacher's assistant, not a teacher's replacement or cheat tool. And with that, we have passed our hour. Thank you so much for your time. If there are any other questions, I see now there are a few questions starting to flood in, but we need to stick to the time because most people need to leave now. We will pick up the questions if you've put them in there. If we haven't got them yet, email them to us, contact us. We will answer all your questions in time. Any questions you've got are valuable for us to know how we should respond and what's top of your mind. This is the point of the Future Smart Teachers Club, that we work on all of this stuff together, we get better together, and we're here to help you. So thank you, everybody. It's been great spending some time with you today.
Thank you, everyone.